Basically, everybody requires energy in order to do our daily activities. Not only that, but also thinking and moving the hand to drink or eat. These movements, these tiny movements, are also requiring energy, and we tend to get our energy from the food as a chemical store for the energy that our body can depend on. Not only humans require energy, but also the machines require energy. If we're talking about the home appliance, they require electricity. If we're talking about other machines like cars, they tend to require fossil fuels as a source of energy. If we're going to look at the consumption of energy, we can find that the majority of the energy that is consumed around the world basically goes for the industry. And then the second largest amount of energy which is consumed by the transport, and then followed by homes and offices. Homes and offices are taking the smallest amount of energy consumption across the overall energy consumption. In industries, we use this energy for making things, as everyone uses things that are manufactured. So industry came as a result of the increase in our needs, and by the beginning of the industry, we have started to consume more and more energy, as the larger machines and factories tend to consume huge amount of energy in comparison with the human being. For the transport, in order to make the ship and the airplane along with the cars move from one place into another, we used to consume huge amount of energy by the help of these machines. So we need energy to travel around, and this energy is consumed by the devices or the machines like cars, airplanes, along with in homes and offices, along with the schools. We use energy for heating, cooling, cooking, lighting, and so on. We have different purposes to use the energy inside our homes, so you can look around and see how we can consume the energy inside the home. Scientists have found strong link between the development along with the energy consumption. They have found that the developed countries, they tend to consume more energy per person when it's compared with the other countries. So the developed countries, they tend to consume more energy as a result of having more cars, they have bigger houses, they have water treatment process, they are consuming more goods and more manufactured stuff. So all of these are making the consumption of energy very high when it's compared with the developing countries. This chart represents the amount of energy which is used by a person within a year. You can find that the highest amount of energy consumption per person per year goes for USA, as the people over there consume a huge amount of energy because they have more cars, they have bigger houses, and they have lots and lots of industries going on over there. So all of these are representing a huge amount of energy in comparison with Europe, which have a lower amount of energy consumption per person per year. Middle East goes for the third place, China, Latin America, Africa, and ending with India. So this chart is representing how a person, based on his place, can consume more or less amount of energy in comparison with another person in a different place. The point of today's lesson is fossil fuels. So in the fossil fuels, we are going to discuss the types of fossil fuels. We are going to talk about the chemical stores of the fossil fuels, or as fossil fuels. We're going to talk about where the energy comes from, and we're going to talk about generating electricity. The energy resources we use around the world can be split into different categories. The first large category is the fossil fuel, which is representing the oil, the coal, the natural gas, followed by a renewable energy resource. I want to ask you a question. Why the fossil fuel is considered to be one of the most important energy resources on the earth? I want you to think about the answer. Fossil fuels are stores of chemical energy. It's easy to send or to transport the chemical fuel from one place into another. If we're talking about petrol, So petrol can easily be transported from a place into another, or we can put some amount in our cars where it's going to send us for hundreds of kilometers. So fossil fuels are stores of chemical energy. The energy is released when we burn these fuels, and we will talk about a good amount of energy. So that's why, due to the convenience in transporting the fossil fuel from one place into another, and due to the large amount of energy produced by the help of the fossil fuel, we can consider them a good source of energy. As the fossil fuels are considered the good or the better source of energy that we have on Earth right now, so let's discuss how the fossil fuels are made. Fossil fuels are found under the ground as coal, natural gas, or oil. The coal is made by the help of the plant that did not decay for thousands of years, and by the help of the pressure, high pressure and high temperature, the plant has changed from a plant into a coal. While the oil and the natural gas were made by the help of the sea creatures that did not remain, that did not decay. They are covered under layers of sand, and this sand was applying pressure on the sea creatures to change them from a sea creatures, remaining of sea creatures, into oil and gas. At the end, we are talking about the fossil fuels, but fossil fuels, they have some of the environmental impact. They are not really that pure energy, because they tend to pollute the environment. As a result, people tend to use more electricity than fossil fuels. Some of the electricity that is generated can be generated by the help of water, wind, while the other amount of electricity that is consumed right now are coming from the burning fossil fuels. So most of electricity is generated in the power stations at the moment. They are coming from the fossil fuels, especially burning coal and gas. So let's start our lesson by reviewing a renewable energy resource. We can state that about 1/8 of our energy comes from the renewable energy resources that include the wind, water power, solar energy, and biofuel. Renewable energy resource cannot be used up so they can renew itself. That's why they can be considered as a good source of energy that are going to long last forever. We have 4 different renewable energy resources, starting with wind power, water power, solar energy, and the biofuels. First of all, the wind power. Wind power is a large place that is generating the electricity by the help of the wind. So the wind can turn the windmill. When the windmill is moving, the windmill is going to move the wind turbine, which is going to generate the electricity. So basically we are changing a kinetic energy or a movement energy into an electrical energy. A river can turn a large wheel by the help of the water. This wheel will be moving. When this wheel moves, it's going to make the turbine moves. When the turbine moves, it's going to start generating electricity. So we are generating electricity by the help of the movement, so changing kinetic energy into electrical energy. And the electricity which is going to be generated by this way is called hydroelectricity, because you are using water in order to generate the electricity. Not only that, but also the waves along with the tidal current, they can also generate electricity. So any purpose which is using water in order to generate electricity can be called hydroelectricity. Then we'll talk about the solar energy. The solar energy is the new fashion of generating electricity, as we tend to have the solar cells. Solar cells are going to collect or absorb the sunlight and then changing it into electricity. Nowadays it's found everywhere around the world. Mostly in Qatar you can find it in the signals, where the signals are operated by the help of the solar cells. The sun is hitting the solar cell changes the sun or the light into electricity. At the end we're going to talk about the biofuels. Wood is a biofuel that many people around the world rely on. Crops such as maize along with sugar cans can be harvested and fermented to produce a liquid fuel for cars and trucks. So these crops or these products can be used in order to get fuels by the help of fermentation. The problem is we need to get these kind of foods in a larger amount than our uses, because we need to take part of it for us to feed on, and the excess need to be used as fuels. This is one of the problems that can be facing the biofuels. Then we're going to talk about the non-renewable energy resources. The non-renewable energy resources, or mainly the fossil fuels, is our main deal of today's lesson. We have the coal, the oil, the natural gas. These cannot be considered a renewable energy resource, because you cannot find the coal or oil or natural gas renewed or replaced naturally easily. They take millions of years in order to make them, so we cannot replace it easily, and that's why this fuel is called a non-renewable energy resource. And then nuclear power. People use nuclear fuels such as uranium. These are stores of nuclear energy. The nuclear fuels are not burned, but their energy is released in a nuclear reactors, where the nucleus is going to be split in order to produce a huge amount of energy. In today's lesson, we have discussed the following. We have discussed how the human activities requires supply of energy. We have discussed how the energy consumption varies greatly around the world. We have discussed how the fossil fuels are stores of chemical energy. We have discussed how the fossil fuels are burned to release energy. And at the end, we have discussed how the electricity is made by the help of the fossil fuels in the power stations. We have spoken about the different kinds of energy. We have spoken about the renewable energy resource and the non-renewable energy resource. I hope you have enjoyed today's lesson, and see you next time.